for the first time since the day of his verdict. Now, Sean Combs ended up being convicted of 2 charges. Those were transportation for the purpose of prostitution charges. He was let off on the more severe charges of trafficking and racketeering conspiracy.
We all know how courtrooms feel: musty air, buzzing fluorescent lights, faded wood, and strangers pretending not to stare. But today in Judge Aaron Subramanian's courtroom, the atmosphere veers into the surreal. You'd think we had wandered into some alternate universe where music moguls run self-help seminars in federal lockup. At the center of it all sits Sean "Diddy" Combs. Once the undisputed king of the Hamptons, now dressed in MDC Brooklyn orange, he's being reintroduced to the world through a stack of letters that sound less like inmate testimonials and more like rave reviews. One by one, Judge Subramanian reads them aloud. Praise so effusive it borders on the unbelievable. Arturo Santiago writes, "Because of this class, I have a purpose, something to look forward to every day." Douglas Welch echoes, "He showed us that it's the small adjustments in life that create real change." The letters flow like midnight radio shoutouts, syrupy and relentless, each one portraying Diddy not as a fallen superstar but as a reborn mentor. Even the unit counselor, the one person paid to see through illusions, calls his work excellent and urges him to continue. Apparently inside these walls, Diddy has crafted a program, Free Game with Diddy, where he preaches goal-setting, hustle, and resilience. The man once known for yacht parties is now framed as Professor X of prison entrepreneurship, guiding inmates to outwork the competition and build better futures. Some letters go further, calling him a unifier across races and backgrounds. One inmate flat out says Diddy saved him, and in that moment as the judge scans the words, you can almost feel the universe staging a redemption arc. The disgraced mogul recast as teacher, healer, even savior. For a split second, it doesn't feel like a courtroom at all. It feels like the setup for a last act comeback. But the air in that courtroom is heavier than the polished letters suggest. Outside those 4 walls, the narrative bends in the opposite direction. The redemption story being staged for Judge Subramanian starts to unravel when you listen to the whispers trickling out of MDC Brooklyn. At first, they were just shadows, mutters in the tear, a snicker here, an insult there. But soon they hardened into testimonies. Cellmates, some named, some hidden behind anonymity, began telling a far less flattering tale. According to them, Diddy wasn't the unbreakable figure his lawyers painted. He was humiliated, bullied, beaten. They claimed the special treatment he received, the extra comforts, the royal conditions, and wasn't a badge of respect but a mark of weakness. Proof, they said, that he could be bought, bent, and broken. It's a jarring contradiction. The same defense team that paraded syrupy letters about Diddy's prison classroom now faces the reality of a parallel story, one where their client is mocked relentlessly behind closed doors. One insider recalls a cellmate telling him to his face, "Your money doesn't mean a thing in here. Your business lessons, worthless. Out there you had platinum plaques. In here, survival is the only currency on paper." Men like Raymond Castillo swear Diddy has brought unity and magical change to the most segregated block in Brooklyn. But listen closely and another picture emerges. From behind the cracks in the cinderblock walls comes a chorus of voices describing a superstar stripped of power, reduced to the punchline of his own motivational speech. Meanwhile, Diddy's legal team clings tightly to the redemption arc, unwilling to let it slip away. In thick, carefully worded filings, they sketch a picture of life inside MDC Brooklyn that reads like something out of the Dark Ages. Food crawling with maggots, a bathroom without a door, fluorescent lights blazing 24 hours a day. They say he hasn't breathed fresh air in 13 months. Every 2 hours, day or night, he's jolted awake, forced to flash an ID card under the relentless glare. According to the filings, he's been held under self-harm watch, not for protection but as a tool of cruelty. They point to a stabbing that shut the jail down for days, water so filthy it has to be boiled before drinking. Conditions so degrading the legal papers feel less like courtroom filings and more like dispatches from another century. And then comes the pitch. If America's most notorious lockup can crush a man as wealthy, powerful, and famous as Sean "Diddy" Combs, what chance does anyone else have? But the contradictions are impossible to ignore. On one side, the unit counselor calls him excellent, praising his work as a positive force. His so-called students rave about finding purpose, about business plans, about hope. More than 100 character letters flood the docket, each painting him as rehabilitated, maybe even inspirational. On the other side, the whispers won't die. Accounts from those who claim to know him best insist the truth is humiliation. That behind the polished filings and glowing testimonials lies a man broken down, mocked, and stripped of his power. The paper trail tells one story, the voices inside MDC tell another, and somewhere in the space between, the truth about Diddy is still hiding. The contradiction is dizzying. Is Sean Diddy Combs the victim of a system built to crush even its most privileged inmates? Or is he a fraud, so corroded by ego that even royal conditions couldn't protect him from ridicule? The defense pleads for mercy, framing him as a man already punished, empire gone, reputation in ruins, future with his 7 children slipping away. They insist he's a survivor, desperate to return home. The prosecution, however, is unmoved. They demand 4 to 5 years, pointing to violent allegations, a chilling security video, and the testimony of women who say Diddy's control reached far beyond boardrooms and music studios. The trial itself has become spectacle. Every lurid detail, every late-night freak-off, every hotel hallway meltdown dissected by tabloids and whispered across social feeds. Yet inside Judge Aaron Subramanian's courtroom, there's an eerie irony. Even with stacks of glowing testimonials, even with inmates hailing him as a mentor, a sour undertone lingers. Because beneath the slogans and the business plans, insiders whisper that he never truly belonged. And so we arrive at the fracture point. The man who once commanded every room now stands mocked in the one place he cannot escape. If the king of the club can't survive the cell block, how far is he willing to go to get out? Then, in an instant, the mood shifts. The prosecutors step forward, no longer interested in redemption arcs or syrupy letters. Their weapons are numbers, hard, cold numbers. Over 1,000 bottles of lubricant seized from Diddy's mansions in Miami and Los Angeles. A stockpile so staggering that even federal agents appeared uneasy describing it on the stand. Then comes the video. Grainy, unforgiving. A hotel hallway where Diddy, stripped of PR gloss, lashes out at Cassie. His body language, pure fury. The old myth of the bad boy collapsing into something much darker. From there, the prosecution paints a mural in devastating strokes. Not just Cassie. Weeks of testimony from women, some anonymous, some named. Former assistants, drivers, security guards, each account carving another wound into Diddy's already fractured image. The stories are brutal. Nights stretching into marathons, strangers paid to perform, substances hovering like smoke. But prosecutors say this wasn't chaos, it was orchestration. They label him the mastermind, transporting companions across state lines for freak-offs, directing everything for his own gratification. This wasn't a mogul succumbing to temptation, it was enterprise. And there's no careful wordplay here, the filings are blunt. The man actor Reiko. Phrases once unthinkable for the Siroc-swilling entrepreneur are now stamped across his name. The days of launching artists of Champagne and Hampton Summers have been replaced by allegations of criminal circuits. Networks where assistants, security, and staff were pawns, knowingly or not, in a machine built to serve him. The empire of Sean Combs isn't just on trial. The very myth of Diddy is being dismantled piece by piece.